he's not at least a couple minutes late, he's not right.
Making the host look bad already.
What is what is
I'm sorry, John. I cut you off. What were you going to
You
say?
all right?
you went live just so I was asking you, what is that Captain America shield in the background? Is that a piece of paper or is that a prop or something?
No, that's actually a foam sort of throw one.
Oh, okay. It's a frisbee. Okay.
Yeah, it's like a nylon over a rim, you know.
Okay. Cool.
Over,
Cool.
yeah.
Oh,
Not
cool.
like yours. Not whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are cool, dude.
Wow.
These are aluminum, so they're very, very easy to dent and bang.
Yeah,
have you ever been
but they're nice and lightweight, though. I mean,
Yes,
if
they're
that was
very nice and lightweight. They would be easy to chip, so I never take
oh,
them off the walls. You know, I put them up on my wall, and I got them when I lived with my parents. I actually moved back here with my parents when I switched jobs. Hung them on the wall. Then when I got my own apartment, hung it on the wall. And then when I got my house, hung it on the wall. They've been moved 3 times. You know, off the wall 3 times.
I have this vision in my head, John, of your grandson walking into your comic room one day and being like, oh, Captain America's shield, and then he just like picks up a handful of rocks and starts
Yeah.
starts
I've actually been looking for a real sturdy Captain America shield. I've seen on Instagram some
oh
guy.
yeah, dude.
He was like chopping wood with it and stuff like that, and I was like,
Oh yeah, it's insane. Like the edge of it is sharpened and everything. Yeah.
yes. So I actually bought it. This is what I get for trusted Instagram. You know what was sent to me? A little
Oh God,
a little plastic shield. Like, so
really?
Yeah, luckily I used PayPal. I got my money back, and then I gave that to one of my nephews. You know, it's a little.
Oh damn, dude, that's crazy.
They tried to scam me, and we lost Devil.
Wow.
We lost the host.
I know. I don't know what happened. He dropped out. He should be back momentarily. I would hope.
Oh yeah. So we were talking before we went live. You want to bring up what we were talking about?
Yeah. Actually, I think the last thing we mentioned was, people like to have this argument about comics being political or whatever. Yes, they've always been political since back in the 40s. Captain America used to fight Nazis. When we were in World War II, there was a lot of comic books that were not very flattering to Japanese people. I mean, this is part of history. You can't change that.
Right. To which I will respond by saying, comics. There was some politics in comics, but that wasn't politics. That was populism. Everybody hated the Nazis.
Exactly, and it wasn't over.
Is when you're taking one party over another party and preach it, you know, like. But that was populism. I would say like Stan Lee when he did those anti-drug stories in the 70s and got the comics going. That was like Steve Englehart when he did like the Captain America, Evil Empire. That was politics, but you know. Who likes racists? You know, so to me, comics
exactly. Yeah, so it's like it's not like I don't know it.
You know, Superman.
But yeah, and also the politics were written into the story well. It became a part of the story. It wasn't just beating you over the head with a message. You know, like this is what you should think, and if you don't think this, then you're wrong.
Right.
What the fuck, man?
Superman, you know, they always bring up, Superman beat up wife beaters and Superman beat up bad landlords. Who likes bad landlords? Who likes wife beaters?
Who likes wife beaters? Yeah.
This is all populism. And some people need to understand the difference between politics and populism. You know, in the 50s, Captain America was the commie smasher. Was that politics? No, that was populism. Everybody hated the commies.
Yeah, everybody was against communism at that point because we just came out of a world war.
Right.
It's-
And
of
I'll say,
course.
like the forays into politics, the big examples I could think of is Denny O'Neil writing Green Lantern, Green Arrow with the hard traveling heroes.
Oh, dude, that was so funny because Green Arrow was like so fucking liberal, and Green Lantern is like so conservative.
Right. And I'll say they dropped that because it wasn't selling. We look at it right now as, oh yeah, look at this Denny O'Neil, but they went back to the status quo. How long did that last? Go back, everybody, and check out the hard traveling heroes, Green Lantern. Politics. What did it last? Less than a year.
Dude, that was
Didn't sell.
Believe it or not, Green Lantern, Green Arrow at that time when Denny O'Neil was doing that stuff was my first comic book subscription. I actually cut out the little coupon out of the back of a comic and sent it in, and they would send them in like fucking brown wrappers, like a Playboy or
Yeah. And I got Doctor Strange subscription, and I also got a subscription.
I used to love that. My mom would go to the mailbox and be like looking at my dad like, "What is this?" with the brown wrapper on it. It's a comic book.
And then the other political comic, like I said, was Steve Englehart when he did Captain America fighting the Shadow Empire when the president. Yeah. But that sold so bad they brought in Jack Kirby. That ended. Jack Kirby came in and totally changed. You know what I mean? So we look back at these as like, oh, these masterpieces, these political, but we forget they didn't sell well. People don't pick up. Could you imagine whether you're pro-abortion or anti-abortion? You're reading the Fantastic Four and it's a debate about abortion. I don't want to hear that.
No, dude. And that's my whole point. Has always been the reason you pick up a comic book or any book for any kind of fiction is because you want to break from reality. You got enough to worry about every fucking day just living, right?
Right.
So when you read a story, you want to be transported into a fictional realm where you don't have to think about all the other bullshit. But
you can.
If my fictional characters, if Wolverine is lecturing me about abortion, I'm not gonna enjoy my Wolverine book. It's
like you could read the X-Men and get like a civil rights story out of it, or you could just read the X-Men. If it's done correctly, you could opt out. And still enjoy it. But
and there was, I mean, especially Chris Claremont at the X-Men in the 80s, there was plenty of underlying back issues. Mutants were basically a token, a place taker for whatever you wanted to use it for, whatever. Yeah, whoever was being persecuted at the time, right? And there's only somebody being persecuted.
Well,
it's just
every kid, male or female, feels like they're the persecuted kid at some point. The comic book.
Sure.
Think about like you're the comic book fan, and the jocks were teasing you back when there was bullies and everything like that. So that's what the mutant was. Us, we were the mutant. I felt out of place. I'm sure you felt out of place. If you really got to know him, I'm sure that jock felt out of place. That's what the mutant was. The mutant.
Well, dude, I was I don't know. I was kind of a mutant myself because but I was a big sports guy. I was track and field, swimming, that kind of shit. So I knew all the jocks. I knew all the cheerleaders. I knew all the nerds. I knew fucking everybody. But at the same time, in high school, I was like one of the biggest dope dealers around. And everybody knew, they could come to me because it was like, we've known him since kindergarten.
I played.
It was a weird situation. But it all worked out in the end,
So does anybody know if Rex is okay?
I don't know what's going on there. Rex has been having some computer issues lately, but
Yeah,
I mean, we're still here. We're still
yeah.
alive. So I don't know exactly what's happening, John.
So, I is it okay if I do my obligatory commercial?
Yeah, I mean, if you can,
Oh well, Rex isn't
well,
here. He can't bring it up. So
yeah,
yes,
we can't embiggen it or anything, but maybe you could still play it on. I don't know. I,
but for those
dude,
of you who are watching,
unfortunately, I'm on my phone, and
yeah,
so even though I have the power to be able to let you do that kind of stuff, I can't do it from my phone. Um, so I apologize for that.
okay.
I don't know what happened. Rex didn't even say anything. He just kind of bloop. So
So for
I'm
those,
assu- I'm assuming he's frantically trying to reconnect at this.
uh, what I'm trying to talk about is I have a comic on Fund My Comic. It's called Heroic Tales. Devil Flyer put there. Rex put the link in the description, but we
Yeah.
can't bring it up right now. But I have an active campaign. I have 126 customers, purchasers, backers.
Oh,
I get,
nice, dude.
yeah, we're just under 4,000. So
All right, and I'm sorry I haven't been checking the chat. John, let me acknowledge everybody. Hail, Carrie, Caleb, Homer Glitch, everybody, Elders, 6480. Welcome, guys. Sorry, don't know what's exactly going on with Rex at the moment. He's at technical difficulties. But we got John's Longbox here, and he's got a campaign called Heroic Tale. And is that Fund My Comic, John?
yes, it is. It's on Fund My Comic.
Very nice. That's yes. I encourage everyone to F Indiegogo, F Kickstarter, go find my comic. They actually will talk to you. You can talk to a person. So it's kind of cool.
So Carrie's
Uh,
asking every time I talk, Shadowhawk. So
I'm sorry.
Carrie's
We probably got a delay, dude. I'm sorry.
So Carrie's asking just to fill some time. I'm new. She says, "You're new to me, John. Please tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you do?" I'm a creative comics a creator. Yes, I have a YouTube channel called John's Longbox on YouTube. I've had Rex, Devil Flyer. He's been on my channel. We talked for a while. He's a big backer of he's a big booster of comic books. I'm a comic book freak from way back. I have a collection of over 55,000 comics. I have all this stuff loaded up ready to show, but without Rex here, we can't show it. And I started during COVID just making a YouTube channel because nobody was coming outside. Everybody was staying inside. Everybody was being weird. So I moved. I didn't know anybody in my new area, and I just started talking about comics on YouTube to nobody. It took about a year before anybody started paying attention. And then I started just asking creators, do you want to come on and talk? And next thing you know, I got Jim Shooter on, I got JMD Mateus, I Chuck Dixon, and so it just started moving. Yeah, it's some good stuff. And then I was like, I'm making a comic. I've had scripts, I've been writing scripts, strike while the iron is hot. So I started making a comic. And the comic I'm making is called Heroic Tales. And it's funny because it's Mother's Day, but Heroic Tales features issue number 1 features a character called the Patriarch. He's my tribute to fathers. I feel like in this modern world right now, fathers are getting a short shift. Fathers always the goofballs who can't do anything. They're getting their eyes rolled out. Wives and the kids are like, look at my dad. So I wanted to make a comic book.
We're all Homer Simpson all of a sudden.
Exactly. So I wanted to make a comic where the dad, he's a good guy. He's a good father. He's a loving husband. And it's a blue sky love letter to old superhero comic books. I want it to look like, it would be on the shelf with Chris Claremont. You get Chris Claremont's X-Men. You get that, Len Wein, George Perez, Fantastic Four. Then right next to it is Heroic Tales. So,
dude, yeah.
To me, thank you. And Haldir, thank you for being a great moderator. So So in the comic, like he's a good guy superhero. He's a husband. You know, he's not sneaking around. He loves his wife. His wife loves him. They want to spend time together. But when you're a superhero, you have responsibility, and that's what it's going on. And then going on from issue number 2, it's going to be a split book. So you pick up the comic in the front, it's going to be the patriarch. You flip it over, it's going to be another character, because I got a lot of characters, but the patriarch is my flagship. So going on,
Oh, dude.
complete story, complete comic, $10. I tried to make it as inexpensive as I possibly could without going bankrupt. Let's face the world is what it is. So for $10, you're going to get a complete story, and we hit a stretch goal. So there's a 7-page backup story about a villain called Unheroic Tales. So there you go.
All right.
How's that? Somebody asked for a 30-second pitch. It's slightly longer than 30 seconds, but how's that?
Okay, hey, yeah. Not bad. Dude, and as soon as we get Rex back and I can drop out of here and safely keep you on the stream, because I don't know if something happens now and I lose you, I think we're done.
Yeah, I don't know. This never happened before.
I have no clue I have no clue what's going on here, dude. Anyway,
okay, I got a lot of questions in the chat. So,
but while I got you, yeah.
Yeah, Overclass has 55,000 comics. How is it moving, dude? I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in Queens, and my comic books were in a storage unit miles and miles away. So whenever I filled up a Longbox with my current issue, I'd drive to the storage unit. My wife and I would make a day of it, because it took like an hour and a half to get to the storage unit. We'd stop.
Oh, damn!
You know, we had lounge like a beach chair in the storage unit. We made a pleasant day of it. She actually enjoyed it because it was a Sunday. Her and I, we don't have kids, so it was a pleasant day. But moving, I hired a moving truck. I hired movers. We literally hired movers to put them down here in my basement, and then I built a room. And again, I wish I could show you the picture. I hope when Rex comes back, I can show you. So yeah, I had to hire movers to move my collection, and I never want to do it again. I joke, I'm dying in this basement, and I'm haunting the people that move in after me.
Yeah, dude, and in your collection, what'd you say, 55,000?
55,000. The last time I took an inventory was 55.
Dude, I think I've got maybe 26,000. So you got like double what I got. And Rex is fucking that boy.
Yeah, he's another loony.
He's got a huge. Well, John, if you get a chance, check out my Instagram, dude, and you can see my wife is tolerant enough of my habitual black and white art addiction that she let me transform our whole living room into a gallery.
Oh wow!
And it's all just CG and an indie artist, dude. No mainstream, no Marvel bullshit. It's just
Could you put the name of it in the chat so I could check it out?
Yeah, it's Shadowhawk Talks on Instagram.
Okay, cool. There was Omer Glitch, if I'm saying that.
Oh wait, on Instagram it might still be Shadowhawk Backs, because before I started co-hosting with Rex, dude, again, you don't know me, so but yeah, Indiegogo since 2018 when I found Ethan. I quit comics in 1999, early 2000. I just gave up completely. I was done collecting. I had probably about 20,000 comics at that point. Tons of toys, statues, limited edition posters, prints, fucking ash cans. All of it. I was a hardcore collector, dude. I was spending like $400 a month at my comic shop.
Me too.
Yeah. So I got divorced in '99, and I was just like, I was done with the never ending fucking crossovers that went over 16 titles that I didn't even care about that I had to buy. And I was just like, I just quit everything. And then 2018, I got hurt at work. My shoulder was messed up. I was off for like 6 months. And I found Ethan on YouTube. I'd never been on YouTube. I hadn't had a smartphone until then. I'd been resisting. I was just like, fuck all that shit. And then I found Ethan, and that was back when he was still like talking quietly and drawing and doing all the cool, you know, before things got out of hand. And it got me back into comics, dude. So at this point, I've supported well over 400 campaigns on Indiegogo.
Cool.
I'm approaching like 50 or 60 on FMC since they started last year. And then there's a ton of people I've, supported directly off their own websites. And like I said, if you look at my Instagram, you see my walls, all those pieces of art and stuff I have bought during auctions, either Ethan's or one of ours, or Pizza Metti's, or RV. Are you familiar with Red Valkyrie and Psy?
No.
No. Oh, okay. They're huge indie comic supporters, man. They got a pretty good channel. It's RV. Dang it. I'm getting so old, dude. My brain don't work anymore.
Omer Glitch asks how many pages are in my comic plus the 7. So it's 20 pages for the patriarch story, 7 pages back up. I have a letters page. I put out heroic mails at yahoo.com. I want to bring back the letters pages. And I just ask people, tell us about fathers. What does fatherhood mean? Because you haven't read my comic. So I got a couple of people that are going to get published. And then I made some fake ads. So altogether, it's 30 pages. I think a little bit more than 30 pages because we're working on something else to add. And Carrie,
awesome.
Her friend is a good dad, denied access to. I hate hearing stories about that. Oh my God. Even worse, my brother-in-law just abandoned his 5 kids. He's in
California. Oh, Jesus, dude. Really?
Yeah. Last I heard, he's in North Carolina with his new girlfriend. And his
what
kids
the fuck?
So that just drives me nuts.
Dude. Oh. Wow. That's just, wow.
And says, forgive me if I missed the answer, John, but what comic made you want to create your own comics? I'm a big role player. Shadowhawk, do you play role-playing games?
Oh, dude, I did back in the day. I haven't in a long, long time just because.
Yeah, it's hard to get people together.
Well, dude, you know what? I kind of gave up on being friends with people a while back because it seems like you always end up being screwed when you let somebody in too close. So it's me and my family, you know. And,
well,
Rex online, my people, you know, that I talk to in chats and stuff. Okay. But I don't, yeah, I don't know, dude.
I used to play Dungeons & Dragons, but a friend of mine introduced me to a game called Villains and Vigilantes, which is a superhero role-playing game. And I never.
Oh, dude, I heard you talking about this the other day.
Yeah, I love this
so game. Cool.
I just played last Friday with my buddy Jimmy. Jimmy and I have been playing since we were in grade school. And my buddy Mike was literally born next door to me. We've been playing, and we still play. We're in our 50s, you know. So we always used to joke we should make a superhero comic book about our characters. And then when I started seeing the independent scene, guys like RJ from the Fourth Age making their own comics, and other people, I was like, I'm going to do this. I have a YouTube channel. I have an online presence. I didn't start out to make a comic, but it was always in the back of my head. So there's really no comic that made me want to make comic books. It was a role-playing game that inspired me. And
yeah, I mean,
you could flip. I'm going to make cards with the characters. So when you flip it over, it's going to have the villains and vigilante stats. I got permission from the owner of the game to do that. Matter of fact, he was encouraging me because the game is kind of forgotten about. So maybe this will revive some. And Omer Glitch says, "Can you adopt me so I can inherit them comics?" Can you clean bathrooms? Let me. What skills do you got? I'm a construction worker. Can you do the things that I can't do? Well, I can clean bathrooms. I just don't want to. Can you cook? There you go. Let's 55,000 comics is a lot. You gotta give me a reason to want to adopt you. Shadowhawk, my daughter is very talented. Howdy fellers. I have like 50 to 60 short boxes, switch from long boxes. Yeah, so you can carry them. Yeah. again, if I could show you the picture, I made these deep shelves because the long
What?
boxes.
Okay.
Here. Oh, Haldir, you can see he put up my my Village Vigilante website. Village Vigilantes forum. That's where I post like session reports of our game.
Okay, and we've got plenty of wrenches here in the chat, so please somebody drop John's link.
Oh, they did. I'm looking at it right now. The Haldir is here. He has all my links somewhere. Every time I do, he shows up and starts linking. He's a great moderator.
Haldir's awesome, dude. He's our Viking.
You've never
king.
been a person that. I misunderstood what you said. I've never been a person that could get into role playing games. I need gore and lots of weapons if I play games. You know, believe me, when you're role playing a guy who could shoot laser beams, people explode and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on how gory you can get in your imagination, right? You know?
Yeah. Oh, what is this? I guess this is a link to join us, Timothy Olsen. Is this a link to join us?
Timmy. I love Timmy.
Yeah, Apex says a letters page. Yeah. So again, Heroic Mails, MAILS at yahoo.com. Send me an email. We're trying to keep it like fathers and fatherhood. Are you putting fan art into letters? That's a good idea. I got a couple of pieces of fan art. Maybe that's a good idea. Yeah, thank you for that idea. I appreciate that. John, it would be cool to be on Red Valkai's channel. I know Shay. Okay. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, you know, Shay. Okay, good. Yeah, I was gonna say, dude.
Tell him to message me. Tell him to message me. Yeah. I've been on a panel with Shay. I forget whose channel we were on when we talked with Shay. Yeah. Message me. I would love.
Oh yeah, we'll have to get you on there like for the next auction and stuff too. You know, it's a good time to go on the art auction. And now I'm sorry, John. Do you draw or are you writing?
I tried to draw, and the last criticism I got on my art was they look like the formaldehyde babies with flipper hands and feet. Yeah,
shit.
So I've always wanted to draw. I've always been drawing as a kid. I never took any lessons. I'm actually thinking about taking a real art class, but I can't draw. So I got Renzo Rodriguez is my artist.
Well, shit, you're good, man.
Did Coney with I wish I could show you the go everybody right now, go to Fund My Comic Heroic Tales and look at this art can.
Yes.
It is like George Perez and John Byrne had a baby. Champions.
And I promise you, John, if Rex doesn't pop back in here before we finish the stream, I'm going to back your book tonight.
Oh, thank you.
You've got at least one more sale for sure.
No, thank you. I wish I could give it away, but you know how
you know how it is, dude. I mean, you got to pay the bills, bro. You gotta eat.
I never played Champions. I always wanted to play Champions, and I think I have a rule book for Champions. Apex Comics.
Champion.
Role playing is gay.
What was that? Was that based like on the Marvel comic?
No. It was a superhero role playing game. There was a bunch of them. There was Village Vigilantes. There was Mutants and Masterminds. There was Champions.
Ooh, that sounds. I like Mutants and Masterminds. That sounds kind of cool.
generic role playing system, so you could plug in superheroes or whatever.
Right, so you can like use whatever like dice you've already got and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and you could plug it into like a fantasy campaign. You could plug it into like a apocalyptic campaign. GURPS. I never actually played it because once I played B&V, I never went to any other. I played Vampire.
That's why I probably never got into any of those things because I would just like be way too deep into it. I'd be one of these fucking Warcraft nerds or whatever.
I write notebooks. I got I sound like Mitt Romney. I got binders full of superheroes. I think me and Jack Kirby
probably just driving them around on the roof of your car, John.
Yeah. So V&V is a good game. I created stories for my channel. Oh, Heroes Unlimited. That's another one I forgot. Then, of course, there was Marvel superhero game, the DC superhero game.
The Marvel did like a big one, right? With recently, I think. I don't know. And there's like all kind of little miniatures and shit that you can like sit on your phone or something. They've got like um, I don't know,
Oh,
some kind of scannable thing on them or some shit where you can.
Omer Glitch
Uh,
said that he's going to work on some fan art. My art is terrible, but I'll try. Well, it's got to be better than mine. Maybe I'll actually the because I sketch out the characters and I send them to Renzo, and then he like I joke around. I call him the alchemist. He turns lead into gold. You know. Oh, we got links
all right,
art auction.
all right. Come on, John. Show us the layout page.
I can't show anything.
It's a stick figure.
So yeah, I caught up to the chat.
I'm just.
I was hoping Rex would be back by now.
I know. I'm sorry. It's me,
okay.
man.
It's okay. But
unfortunately, poor Shadow got left on his own today.
Yeah.
Rex usually, dude. If Rex was here, he would be doing the deep dive on you. So
yeah,
you know,
yeah. I had Rex on my channel before. He's a guy that knows his comics.
Yeah.
That they were looking. Oh yeah, Omer Glitch says the art looks really good. He's looking at my campaign page. Thank you, you. Omer Glitch.
I know my new comics, dude. Like all the old stuff. Like when I quit back in '99, I shut all that up. I was like, I'm done. I don't care anymore, and I've forgotten most of my history. You know, I've got huge runs of like Wolverine 1 through 100, Spawn 1 through 150, all first printings. I mean, I've got a ton of stuff, but it's been 20 years since I went through them and read them. They've just been properly stored and taken care of.
Yep, all my comics. You can see I'm in the process of rescan. They're all bagged and boarded in a long box. I put them in alphabetical order. I just put it by alphabetical order by title. So Marvel and DC and whatever. Because
I had mine broken up into a Marvel, DC, and then Image because when Image took off,
they were big.
Like, oh, dude, I bought everything they put out for like.
But I didn't want to remember
3 years.
So I just put them in alphabet. Like I can remember Wildstorm or Fantastic Four or Avengers. So I just go to A. But I don't want to remember. Oh, it's A, but Image Comics. And it's Dark Horse. Oh, wait a minute. Wait, Usagi Yojimbo.
Right. Yeah.
So I just put them all in alphabetical order.
I get. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
I remember the first comics from Egypt on the pyramids. Okay, you're my age. I remember.
They were on clay tablets.
Yeah, comics are. I read a study. I think it was Will Eisner was talking about that. The military did a study that reading involves one hemisphere of the brain and looking at art involves the other hemisphere of the brain. I'm not going to say right or left because I don't remember. So reading comics involves both hemispheres of the brain, and you retain that information more than just looking at pictures or reading. So they hired Will Eisner to do those PS magazines for soldiers to like clean their guns and load trucks and what to do when you go to different countries and everything like that, because they figured it was the best way, fastest way, and most retainable information. So that's why that's why me and you could remember comics that we read when we were in first grade, but we can't remember what we did yesterday.
Exactly, dude. Oh my god, me and my wife were like doing yard work all day today. It's Mother's Day, right? And she decides she's gonna pick up the hedge clippers for the first time. She wants to fucking trim the bushes. She's never picked up a pair of hedge clippers in her life. I'm like, honey, you're a guitar player. You could lose some fingers, please. Just let me do it. Nope. She had to do it. So, but it was all good. I mean, we had a great day. It was just funny, and then here we are with Rex missing in action, and nobody knows why.
Carrie just says, I defy that logic. I read a comic or regular book. My brain retains nothing. Yeah, I have to say, I think Carrie's
got a brain like a sieve.
I could almost recite some comics that I read as a kid, and then I just like just read a comic a couple of like an hour ago or whatever, and I vaguely remember because
Yeah.
I didn't have as many comics, and I waited a month for the next one, so I reread it over and over and over again during that month. You know, that was kind of the fun of comics. Like sometimes instant
All right.
gratification.
Well, look. Let me ask you this, John.
Sure.
You're saying you're somewhere in the range of 55 or so thousand comic books.
Yeah.
Have you read each one of them,
I
or
read.
have you just picked them up in chunks
I
and
read.
put them away?
I have 18 long boxes of unread comics. So
18 long boxes. Oh my god.
That's, like right over here.
That's a lot of fucking reading to catch up on, bro.
This is my pile of to read. That this is as high as I'll get it before it starts to teeter. And then
bro, I got a fucking like this really nice plastic packing crate that because of my job I get to run into these really cool packing things. So I got a few of these crates and I turned them into comic book storage boxes. So all of my CG books and shit are in there.
Cool.
And dude, I've got like 150 comic books I haven't fucking read yet.
That's nothing.
And
I got 100 right here. And then I got
but these are all like 48 pages or more. You know, it's not like floppies. It's like I'm like, oh shit, I got some reading to do. But I need to start doing content on my own channel, so I'm just gonna start doing comic reviews. You know, and because I've got, like I said, I've backed well over, I think 440, 400, almost 50 campaigns.
Sometimes I get embarrassed because I think I backed something, and then I find out that I didn't.
Dude, I hate when
I'm like, oh, when's it coming out? It's like it's fulfilled already. I'm like, I thought I backed it. So,
yeah, that's the worst.
There's so much out, I can't possibly keep track of what's going on.
That's the worst when you think you backed them. You're like, dude, no problem, I got you. And they're like, yeah, dude, you didn't back. I'm like, oh, fuck. Shit.
Well.
Who's this guy?
Oh, look. Oh, well, look at there.
You joining us on the Shadowhawk show there, Rex?
It must have been Omar glitch with a glitch in the system because internet just blinked out. And anyway, I'm here now.
Were you able to hear us at all?
Thank God, Rex. You can save John from me. And
we were doing good. We were reading all the comments.
Oh, good. Yeah, you guys are professionals. You know what it's all about. John, I'll show you one of the latest I got. You probably watched this as a kid. I'm 58, so I barely remember this, but
yep.
You can watch all the episodes on YouTube. Mighty Hercules. Yep. Not ringing a bell. You're a young man, though.
Am I? Are you able to? I have my campaign waiting. I was trying to show it before, but we couldn't do it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. All right.
No problem.
There we go.
So this is my campaign. This is Heroic Tales #1. This is the cover. Look at this glorious. I wanted to do the corner box, make it look like old Marvel comics.
Right.
You know, this is Renzo introducing the patriarch. He's fighting this big robotic insect. And then Rex, you got to recognize that. That's Pat Broderick's artwork.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Pat Broderick. He's doing Bronze Star with Mike Barron right now.
Little known fact, John. He was the first to draw the persona of death in Captain Atom. A couple issues of Captain Atom.
Yeah. He was one of the first to draw death outside of the Sandman. Yep. And then this is the back cover. I love this piece of art. This is I wanted to encapsulate everything that the patriarch is in an image, and first and foremost, he's a father. So this is him at home. This is his wife down here. So Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day. She has 7 kids, 2 sets of twins, and then a couple other kids. And this is what he wants to come home to, the farm, with the kids. Unfortunately, in a world of supervillains, they're kind of recluses because we'll just say bad things happen that you'll learn more of as the issues go by. So they're he's trying to keep the family safe away from supervillains.
Is this an Earthling?
I'm sorry?
Is this an Earthling?
Is the Patriarch an Earthling?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yes. I will show his origin in issue 3. He is born on Earth. He was married before he even got his powers, and then got his powers. But yes, he's an Earthling, because in my world, you don't look too human if you're born on another planet.
Right.
Yeah. That's one of those things that drive me nuts. Is everybody in space just looks like Earthlings?
Well, you think about it too, Kal-El, right? Martha and Mary Kent were the aliens,
right?
Yeah.
That's like an old fashioned thing. And I do have outer space stories and time travel stories and all that stuff, but no multiverse. There's only one Patriarch. If he dies, he's done.
I think that's kind of a crutch,
Yes, it's
multiverse.
Absolutely. There's
time travel can be a crutch. There's certain, you can handle it in a way that's interesting, if you really write a good story. But I'm keeping the momentum verse, my own universe, to a universe, one verse, just like it is here.
There's other universes, but the laws of physics are different in every universe. So all of those little events that lead up to the birth of Rex, Devil Flyer, Momentum can't possibly happen in a universe with different laws of physics. So there's only one, version of everybody. It doesn't matter which universe you go to. This is the interior art. I just wanted to show that I didn't do a bait and switch. This is Renzo doing all the art. I think it's glorious. This is Boss Moxie. He woke up one day and decided to become a 30s gangster robbing banks, which is, you don't understand in the first issue, but it's a subplot. And this was the first appearance of the Patriarchs. The second page. I love this. I love this. And again, there's little hints dropped even in this artwork of future stories.
How did this come about, John?
Besides
your love of comics.
I was talking about this while you were gone, but I play a role-playing game called Villains and Vigilantes.
That from way back from the 80s.
Yeah. So this comic is a lot of our Villains and Vigilante stories cleaned up, because when you play a role-playing game, things can go crazy. And we I turned it into a comic. Matter of fact, my friend Mike, who plays with us, he just finished up a campaign on Kickstarter called Marshall Strong, which is his character. I run the game. He has a character, and Marshall Strong is the Captain America Nick Fury mix. He's the patriotic military superhero in my world. And I didn't want to use any of my friends' characters because I didn't think they would. I didn't think I had the rights to do it. Not rights like legal rights. I just didn't. It's their character. And then my friends got mad at me for not including their characters. So in issue 2, some of my friends' characters will show up. So where are we? This is, again, I showed the first 5 pages. This is him. He's trying to get home. He's trying to get home to his family. It's already been a full day of superheroing. He's trying to get home, and he has these super senses, and he keeps sensing danger. So he's a good guy. He has to help out and save. And this is the end of the art. I have this coin that I got made in a foundry in Norway. They make coins. So I had used them before. They take a while. So if you want to use the Norse foundry, you really got to plan ahead. But I want to do this for all my superhero comics. So like Rogue Tales on one side, then you flip it over, it's going to have the symbol of that character on the back. I just love coins. I got a pint glass, and if you spin the pint glass around, you could see that it has the Patriarch symbol on it. I should have put 2 pictures now that I'm looking at. And then stretch goals. We got collector's cards. The first card is going to be the Patriarch, and when you flip it over, it's going to have his V and V stats. I should have the art. The Nick Axe is designing the cards. I'm going to give him the stats to do. So we should have that picture up in a couple of days. And I'm hoping by that time the second card will be unlocked, which will be Boss Moxie and his stats. And then, like I said, here's the campaign itself. $10 for a copy. I think that's pretty reasonable for an indie comic. 30 pages, a complete story, and then a complete story within the backup. I know that it's hard to schedule comics when you're crowdfunding. So I think it's a big ask to ask people to pay for $25 for a part story that you don't know when part 2 is going to come out. So I decided, yeah. So like an old Marvel comic, you got a full story in an issue, but the next issue built on it. So that's what I'm going to do. Every comic is going to be its own complete story. If I need to tell a bigger story, I will make a bigger comic.
What's your favorite comic character? Is it Captain America, John?
My favorite is Superman.
Superman. Okay. Superman, so you kind of patterned this after Superman then.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I wanted, that's part of the story itself is in my mind, Superman is the father of all superheroes. And when they showed Kingdom Come, when Superman left, all the other superheroes started to become like spoiled brats and troublemakers and everything. And then Superman had to come and spank them all and get them all to behave again. So I wanted, like, it's an homage to Superman, but he's vastly different than Superman. If you see this page over here, you see he's touching the car and he's repairing it with like psychic abilities. I was keeping it a secret, but since the card is unlocked and the card is going to have, I'm going to be showing the card. He's telekinetic. He has psychic senses and he has telekinetic. So he's more like Jean Grey than Superman, so but he dresses like Superman because, that to me, that's like the ultimate father figure in the superhero world. So,
right.
He uses his senses to repair the rail to protect. He can't just leave with a big old hole over a switchback. So he repairs that and he takes off, because he's everybody's dad, and he's a good guy,
It's amazing the growth that you've had, John. You started on YouTube October in 2020,
right?
And just the growth. I mean, you have 100 and over 100 K subscribers.
No, I don't have 100,000. No, I have like 1,400.
Oh, you have 1,000. Okay, almost 1,400. Then you got about a little over 1,000 videos.
I wish I had 100,000. Boy, that would be something else.
About 1,100 videos. So you've grown. What do you attribute your success on YouTube? Just the interviews and your love of comics.
There's no way to answer this without sounding arrogant. So, but I like comics and I'm knowledgeable about comics and I like talking about comics. I avoid the drama. I don't care about egos. It's about comics. It's not about me. And I think people are picking up on that. And I think there's more of a market for that than we realize. People. I don't want to talk about me and you fighting, me and you feuding, me and Shadowhawk feuding. I don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? I want to talk about Batman and Superman feuding. I want to know who would win in a fight, the Flash or the Hulk and stuff like that. That's what I want to talk about. I got enough problems. The world is kind of scary right now. Let's talk about comics.
And Are you a nerd? Are you a nerd, John? Have you been looked at as a nerd back in the past? Have you been called a nerd?
Have you met me? I'm into board games, comic books, and punk rock, so I guess I'm a nerd. The best weekend that possibly have, and my wife loves it. My wife is the best. When my friends all come over and we play role-playing games. So we're all imagining we're superheroes or if not that, all my friends come over, we play board games. You know what I mean? So tomorrow, every Monday, I have a board game night. My buddy Adam and his girlfriend and his roommate, we're all coming over. We get pizza. We play board games. I think tomorrow we're going to play Ticket to Ride. And what else do you want to do? I bought a house with the sole intentions of having a comic book room and a board game room. So, to answer your question, I'm a nerd. The guys that work.
How would you describe comics
how would I describe comics? Comics are imagination. Comics are it, you know, I mean, to get like literal, comics is words and pictures. You know, it's storytelling through words and pictures. But what I love about comics is the imagination. It is by far my favorite medium. It is relatively cheap to produce. All you really need is one person with talent, and he could draw, write, and color. I unfortunately have no artistic ability, but you know, like Wolf and Batsy, that's one guy doing everything. You know what I mean? That's awesome.
Right.
Jorge Chuva,
Kind
one
of
guy
like Michael Bancroft, he does everything.
Yeah, exactly. That's another good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could do anything. The limit is your imagination. You can have two people sitting in Starbucks having a conversation, and if you're clever with the angles and the drawings and you know, the perspectives, it could be interesting. You could also have in the same medium two people fighting on asteroids flying through space as you know, ships explode and black holes in the distance and cosmic energy.
How do you see the current state of comics, and
terrible.
what do you see in the next 5 years?
Comics are dying. People don't like when I say that. Comics are dying. The sales are going down. Stores are, and more and more people are buying manga, and I don't blame them. Manga is excellent.
Would you describe it at this point as a niche hobby?
Oh yeah, it always was a niche hobby. Even when, you know, back in the 40s they were selling millions and millions of copies, but it's been dying since the 40s. You know, when I was a kid, the X-Men was selling like 180,000 copies a month, and that was, you know, and now what are the big ones are selling 80,000, and then the average comic is selling less than 50,000. You know, and now everybody's praising me that I'm doing good. What did I sell? 200 copies so far? You know what I mean? Comics are dying. You know, but at the same time,
why are we still producing them?
Because we love them. You know, we love them, and we're dreamers.
It's would you call it an American art form?
Oh yeah, I keep saying that what is it? Jazz, baseball, and comics are like the three undisputed American art forms, and I find it bizarre that as comics are dying, the professionals are bickering with each other, and the professionals are denying it's going on. I would like to think that if baseball was dying, if no one was going to the stadiums, and no, you know, I like to think that the major league, they would all get together and have exhibition games and go to children's hospitals and try to do something to drum up interest. But American comics are dying, and the professionals over at Marvel and DC are yelling at the fans and calling them names and fighting with each other and canceling each other and getting guys to commit suicide.
So in your estimation, does it all hinge on the big two?
Yeah.
It does. So as DC and Marvel go, it drives the rest of us. We can do nothing to stop this slide.
Mike Barron, I asked Mike Barron that exact question, and he said the best thing that we could do is keep making comics and make good stories. We already have great art, especially here in this indie. I mean, look at Renzo. This art is great. Look at this Pat Broderick. This art is great. You know, what we got to do is make the stories and shout and try to get people interested.
What about distribution, John? I mean,
I would love to figure out a problem.
The spinner rack is gone.
Yeah, the spinner rack is gone. I don't think it's coming back.
No, I don't either. It's, you know, and that was a chance encounter with greatness to take you to an alternate world.
I love
things unimagined.
I love the spinner rack so much. I got one right there. Can you see that? Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, you can see it, but people can't see it. It's still on my campaign.
Right. I'm gonna have to go to my studio and grab my two and stick them back here. You know, it's just a chance encounter with a kid, you know, and new readers. Even though comics are not totally written for children nowadays, I think the focus was all over the place, you know. On a spinner rack, though, I guess you could find something for all age groups. What age appropriateness is this for all readers?
This is an all ages.
All ages.
I'm a big proponent of all ages. Now, there's a difference between kiddie comics and all ages. Like Richie Rich and stuff like that was kid comics, and that's great because we got to get kids interested in comics. But this is all ages. In the same vein that Chris Claremont's X-Men was all ages. That had some suggestive material. That had, when you go back and reread, I remember the revelation of what the Hellfire Club actually was. I was probably 40 years old rereading the X-Men. I'm like, the Hellfire Club is like an S&M bondage club. The white, what's it, Sebastian Shaw and Emma Frost with the Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell of the comic book world, and which is one of the reasons why when I read the X-Men having a Hellfire gala in modern comics, I'm like, you guys you just don't get it. You don't understand what's going on in comics. I was like, this is like having the Avengers going, we're going to go down to Epstein Island and have a party. People at Marvel really dropped the ball with that. So back to your point. Yes, my comic is all ages. I'm all ages with maybe pushing the boundaries, but nothing kids today haven't already seen.
You have 50,000 books approximately. How did you acquire that? Did you do a buyout of some comic shops, or did you just select all these?
I was just a lunatic. I quit Marvel Comics, Marvel and DC in 2015, cold turkey. And at that time, I was spending $400 a month on comics. So just imagine $400 a month for a long time. And then, yes, I bought collections from private people that were, they were tired of comics. They had getting divorced or whatever. I was paying attention to like message boards and Craigslist. People were getting rid of comics. Sometimes, a few times, I was just in the right place at the right time, and I heard somebody talk about comics. I've had friends from work that like, you're into comics. My buddy's getting rid of a garage full of comics. Boom, driving there after work, making an offer, So, yeah, I bought a lot. And I find when I buy a full run of comics and read them, I don't remember them as much as when I read them 1 month at a time. Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah. When you binge watch TV, do you remember it as well as when you watch, say a show once a week for a year?
I could see your point on that. And we've kind of gotten away from that. I actually binge watch a lot of things because I've not had inward streaming TV for a long time. And with the internet, you really don't need that. There's certain things that you can, you watch your TV off your computer
right
nowadays. But I had never even thought about age appropriateness until I got on with Don Chen, and he asked me about that in my book. What would be about the approximate age group that it's aimed at. But I suppose that's something that every creator needs to consider, right?
Yeah.
What is
I want this like look at this. Oh, I'm scrolling on the wrong thing, but look at this.
What is the demographic you're kind of aiming for? And you're aiming for everyone.
Like this, I would like you to find it. Like if back in time, I could slip this in a spinner rack, and except for there's cell phones on it, but with the art and the story and the subject matter, this would go right next to Green Lantern, right next to Wolverine, right next to Doctor Strange.
So if the problem is distribution, and is that the problem, John, as you see it?
There's a whole bunch of problems. Let's look at it this way. I started to realize how bad comics were. I'm a construction worker. I was working in Manhattan, and I was going to Midtown Comics. Midtown Comics, for those of you who don't know, is one of the biggest comic book stores. It's in Manhattan. It's like 3 stories. It's huge.
Are you retired now, John?
No, not yet. I wish. I got about another 3 or 4 years. So I'm walking to Midtown Comics, and I'm walking through Times Square, and there's a big bulletin board for the Fantastic Four movie. This was, those 2 movies that came out a while ago. And I'm thinking, I'm in Times Square. There's a billboard here with the Fantastic Four, and Fantastic Four comics aren't selling. And then same thing. There's X-Men movies, there's Avengers movies, there's Thor movies, and nobody's going to the stores. And then my buddy Larry, who owned a comic store, he said a few times a dad and a son, or a dad and a daughter. Oh, look, there I am. A dad and a son and a dad and a daughter would walk into the comic book store that they've never seen before. And they'd be like, oh, wow, we just watched the Avengers. We want to get a comic. And they'd pick up, this isn't Captain America. This is some guy with wings, you know. And okay, let's get Thor. And then they pick up, oh, this is a woman with cancer is now Thor. Oh, this is an Iron Man. This is a black teenage girl. And they would leave the store, maybe buy a pack of Pokemon cards to justify the trip. You know what I mean? It was Marvel shot themselves in the foot. When all of these billion-dollar movies are out, they should have been capitalizing on it.
Well, you probably talked to Cecil about that. I've heard him talk about that before. They did lose one of the greatest opportunities to merchandise all that stuff. We can get back to your campaign here in a minute, John. But I like to find. I wanna open up the hood and see what you got under that engine. You know. And I have to acknowledge, I'm glad you reminded me, Roger Corman, he passed away actually on the 9th, but it was today that the family kind of dropped that he had
I didn't know that. I thought it was today.
Yeah.
This I was trying to show this before. This is my comic book room. This is right behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody always asks, look at those old brown boxes. Those old brown boxes are probably 25 years old, and they're still the sturdiest, strongest of all my comic.
Oh, just yeah, like they're thick. I've still got the big thick ones. Yeah.
The new boxes, sometimes I pull them and the whole front comes off.
Why is it a spice thing that you don't go with short boxes? About a decade ago.
I could take out the long boxes and put 2 short boxes. But I got all the long boxes. It's done. But
you're not moving around, so that's good. You know, I guess.
Well, I am.
Have you considered the pull-out ones? You've seen the pull-out ones, right?
I do take the box that I carry them here because I'm scanning them right now. By the way, there's my spinner rack. There's my spinner rack, everybody. So yeah, I do take them out, but
so you're kind of putting them on file. That's what I do. I shoot them with a digital camera and then I have them in files. Yeah.
I scan them, put it. Okay. I got comic book base is the name of the program. But this is also going to sound arrogant, but I'm in construction all day long. I'm carrying heavy steel pipes, and stuff. So carrying these comic book boxes ain't that bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't generally do it though, do you?
I'm sorry?
You don't generally carry a lot of the long boxes around, do you? Maybe one at a time to scan it.
Yeah, one at a time. I got a rolling table. I take it, put it on a rolling table, roll it over here. Do what I got to do.
What are your plans for your collection after you're gone?
Who cares? But what I've been scanning my collection for 2 reasons, because I don't want to buy 900 copies of something that's worthless. And also for insurance, and people seem to like. I make these little short videos of box. I think I'm up to box 60, and it's Fantastic Four stuff. So I scan it all, and it tells the value of my collection, and I share that information with my wife. So if anything happens to me, she can sell the comics without getting ripped off. But I've always been saying, once I retire, my job will be selling comics. I'll just put it on eBay or whatever.
Have you ever had a comic book store? I had a comic book store at one time.
I worked at comic book stores. I really liked it, but I was a part owner of a pizzeria, and I like having somebody else give me paychecks and I go home. But a comic book store, I always said if I won the lottery, I would love to have like John's Hobby Emporium. It's like you go in, there'll be like a stand where you can get sandwiches and food. Over here will be comic books, over here will be board games, and then like after 5 o'clock or whatever, we start playing role-playing games. Maybe there'll be a screen that comes down and we'll watch the new, every nerdy little thing that I want will be in one place. But it's always say when I win the lottery, because then I won't care if I make money or not.
Right.
Because I do believe even when you retire, you got to have something to do.
Oh,
You know,
definitely. You have to keep your mind active,
you
right?
have to keep your mind active. You have to keep your body. You have to have even if it's just to get up and play golf. You know, my dad retired. He just watched TV and he just got heavy. And I
To
think
me, that's a waste of time. You want to hit a ball around the ground, you know?
well,
Why not read? Why not read something interesting? And
most people don't read.
ex- well, I know that's becoming a thing,
Look how
isn't
crazy
it?
my hair is now that you made me look big. But yeah, yep,
Yes.
yep.
Let's go
Marvel Treasury.
Treasury Edition. Don't you miss this stuff? Uh,
I had most of those Treasury editions, but they got destroyed.
uh,
They're just so big.
I've
So
been doing that Biden thing a lot, you know?
yeah, well, that's
That
okay.
that old newsprint, you know, it's got
I
an
look.
ambiance to it.
I dated a girl in college, and she owned a comic book store.
Did she
And
smell like that?
we went in the back room, and the back room just had pile. Like the back room wasn't finished, so it had the wood beams, and in the wood beams it was just comics.
And John says, "Would
And
you
we just
marry
smelled,
me?"
and she's like, "Oh, it just smelled so good. I loved it."
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that's the way my comic book, there was no need for an air freshener. It's going to, but with all the new books, with all the new paper stock, you really have to have some of that old newsprint to make it smell that way.
Yeah, it won't smell the same. Yeah,
It
I
won't
agree.
smell the same, right? Yeah, just like some toxic chemical factory.
Yeah, but
Now, have you worked on some big projects in your construction?
yeah, I built I built, yeah. I was one of the people that helped build the New York Times building, the new New York Times building. For the past, well, for about 5 years, I was the maintenance on the George Washington Bridge. Uh, I was the house electrician for Marvel Comics for 3 years. That's how I became aware of, for some reason, at the beginning of your boy Zach, Diversity in Comics, Richard
Uh-huh.
C. Meyer, whatever you want to call him. I think he made 3 videos, and for whatever reason, I got caught up in the algorithm, and I just started listening to him every day. And when he was asking for insider information, I was sending him emails. So if you remember any of those videos where we talked about this electrician over at Marvel was saying that was me. So when people like you're not Comicsgate, I was like, dude, I was Comicsgate before you, before Ethan Van Sciver, before John Malin, and I got the proof. Go watch your boy Zach's videos. So I was Marvel electrician, and right now I'm at JFK. We're building, rebuilding JFK Airport.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that's good. I mean, you got a good paying job and you can invest that money. And you're kind of like Chuck Rosansky a little bit, aren't you? Buying out collections and things where they
Yeah,
come.
but he sells them and makes a fortune. That's the difference.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
buy them and I put them in this back room,
You
and then
you buy them and with the d- now do you keep? I mean, I used to have the attitude, I'm not, it's going in my collection. I'm never going to sell this. But now I keep up with how much I give for something, by simply writing it down on the tape on the back.
I don't look at the price.
Yeah.
As of right now, I don't really care. I know I have some expensive comics, but
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now
I've seen
I
you.
just enjoy my collection. I just
I,
enjoy walking around and opening up and look, Fantastic Four #1, and I hate to say obsessive compulsive because I'm not, but I just love having that full run of Fantastic Four, that full run of Avengers, and full
yeah.
run of
Yeah.
X-Men. And if I was to
Yeah.
sell issue 27 of X-Men, it would bother me. I'd be like, oh man, I don't.
Do you recognize this one? I know that's before your time. It's before my time, but it's kind of a historical book.
No, I don't have. I have Gold Key and Dell, and are like two big major holes in my comic collection that I
Let
don't
me
know
tell
anything.
you what issue number this is, because that has to do with the historicity of this book. 1354.
Yeah, I
This
know.
is the end. What Dick Tracy started with a no number, Dale 4 color. So this is the longest running American comic run. It's the Dale 4 color. Now you would have like Steve McQueen photo covers, have have gotten
Yeah,
real travel and
I got the Alexander the Great issue because
Crusader Rabbit, Woody Woodpecker, all would be in this here. It was just like different from month to month to month. But this is the last one that came out.
okay.
And sadly, I didn't write the number down. On this, but and I've got some Phantoms that are like 1,400 or 1,500. I mean, they've been publishing the Phantom down in Australia, John, for Frew Publishing since 1942. What is that?
This is called Funny Books. This is a history of Dell and Gold Key Comics because I don't know anything about that company because when I was a kid, when I saw Dell Comics, those were kids comics. I was a sophisticated kid who liked the Avengers and Ghost Rider. So I heard Chuck Dixon mention this book, and I was like, I got to get it. And it's driving me crazy because there's no way this didn't have a dust cover, so, and I didn't get it. So, so I got this. You'll appreciate this.
Do you have Gerber's photo, books?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about, so I guess I don't. But I just bought Doc Savage pulp novels, because I never read them before. So
Doc
Savage was. I told you my stack was teetering. Now it's gonna fall over. Come on.
Doc Savage was called Superman before. Before Superman.
Yeah, there's a lot of that's one of the things that I got interested in is the inspirations for the comics. So I read Gladiator by Philip Wiley.
What's your oldest one, John? Do you go all the way back to the Golden Age?
Yeah, my oldest comic is I think Millie the Model #1. I think it's 1940.
Okay.
I love the Golden Age comics. I have a lot of reprints.
Do you have any foreign comics in your collection, or do you
not
pretty much
not that many? Maybe a handful.
Yeah. That's me. I probably have more British.
I just bought this.
I mean, here's the British version. Oh, Tintin. Yeah.
Yeah, and this drives me nuts because there goes Mike. You can see that there's room for one more. Because they took out the Tintin in Congo.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Because it's controversial now in America, the way they draw the Congolese black people. So.
Oh yeah, you've seen.
But I paid $100. I knew what I was getting into. You know what I mean? This isn't like a $5 reprint for kids to buy. When you're spending $125 on a collected, I know what I'm interested in. Like they were going to make a $150 hardcover reprint of all the Golden Age Captain Marvel, Shazam, and they were gonna. I forget the name, but Captain Marvel for a brief period had a black sidekick that was.
How about archives? You got archives and stuff?
Yeah, I want to get it, but then I'd have to get up.
No, but that's fine. I just all you got to do is say yes.
Yes. Where did I put it? I was just sorting comics, and now I can't find it. But it's.
All right, we know Superman is your favorite comic. You kind of tailor-made your own historic tales. #1 after Superman, called the Patriarch, right?
Correct.
Okay. What would you say is your second favorite?
Oh, my second favorite superhero is easy. The Ben Grimm, the Thing, the ever-loving blue-eyed Thing.
Okay, so we got a DC and we got a Marvel. Which did you kind of prefer growing up?
I was a Marvel kid. I always loved Superman, and but
I was more Marvel myself. But that's almost like the Star Trek or Star Wars. Well, I saw the original Star Trek when it came out. Loved it. Watched the Filmation, 2 years of that. Animated with there you go. Whoa, hey, watch that thing. Put that thing on. You got a tricorder? There you go, communicator.
Yeah, I got the tricorder. That's upstairs, though.
I'm a comic book creator, not a bricklayer.
And you can see this pole is gold, and then that pole is blue, and then that pole is red. That's command. Yeah, that's the Star Trek colors. I'm a big Star Trek fan. And then,
live long and prosper.
Yeah, the original Star Trek.
I mean, if you have an argument with your wife, if you know how to do it, you can give her a neck pinch, right?
James T. Kirk is probably my favorite character on TV.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
He's always.
We always make fun of him, but I challenge you. Watch the first season of Star Trek. He was excellent.
Well, there's a lot of focus on William Shatner right now. I'll tell you
he
what.
Wasn't just
Roger
the captain
Corman.
of the ship. He was the captain of the show.
We did the only serious, really movie that Roger Corman, and the only movie that didn't make money that was on a serious subject about racism in the early 60s. If you've not seen it, I highly recommend it. Roger Corman made the movie. But it's about he plays a huckster that comes into town and kind of foments racism, and they find him out to it's but that was the only movie that didn't make Roger Corman any movie.
What's the name of the movie?
Money, because it was really ahead of its time, before the civil rights movement and stuff,
What's the name of the movie?
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. What's the name of the movie? Let me get back to you on that. I forget the name of the movie. I have it here, though. I can find it. There's been a lot of people posting about that.
I think it's called I Hate Your Guts, right?
Yeah, let's go with that till I do find what it says. So I was a Marvel guy too.
Yeah, I love Marvel, and I made fun of DC because in my eyes, DC was for children and Marvel was for cool, sophisticated kids. Like you read Archie and stuff like that when you were a baby, and when you were in grammar school, you read DC, and then when you were sophisticado, you read Marvel. But I since love DC. There's a place by me that has just great dollar bins, so I've been buying old DC comics that I just
Well, I'll tell you what really informed me about DC was stuff like this, John, the little digest that came out.
Yeah,
this is where I learned a lot about the DC lore.
What is it?
This is year's best comic stories that came out.
Oh, that's better. Okay.
Yeah, I'm on another screen here trying to find that for you. So not even.
Apex says they need to release Roger Corman's Fantastic Four in the theaters. It'll make more money than the Eternals.
yeah, maybe.
Probably right.
Yeah. How do you view this social justice warrior? I mean, you're in New York, I assume, or around the New York area, correct? Okay, and they have a little bit more. Wouldn't you characterize them as a liberal slant?
Oh yeah. I was a teenage liberal like everybody. If you're under 30 and you're not, but
well, you want to save the world, right?
Right.
When you're younger,
I'm an individualist. I believe in the individual. I'm not much of a joiner. I don't like groups. Like George Carlin said, I love people. It's just that when people form groups, that's when problems arise. And I completely agree. And the SJWs, their biggest problem is they just treat everybody as a stereotype. They don't like racism, but they treat everybody as a stereotype. Blacks can't get voter ID because they're dumb. That's the only, that's the argument that they tell people. Blacks, voter ID laws are bad because black people aren't smart enough to get ID. That's their argument, and they think they're the good guys.
Right.
If you're a Republican, you're a Nazi. Like it's baby think. It's so I'm not a big fan of it at all. I'm not a fan of it in the slightest. They're the bad guys.
And what damage do you think in the last decade has that done to?
They destroyed everything. They destroyed Star Wars. They destroyed Star Trek. They destroyed Warhammer right now. They destroyed comics. They destroyed Dungeons and Dragons. Every hot board games. Doctor Who is currently being destroyed. Because what they think, they call themselves progressives. And progressives think that we're progressing towards a utopia. And anything that is not in the future is bad. So the past is bad. So the past must be judged by right now their progressive standards. So it's okay to shit on it and to call it evil, and then it's easy to ruin it. So they don't care about the past of Marvel. They don't care about the past of Dungeons and Dragons. when we talk about George Washington, they focus on, he was a slave owner. Yeah, but he was a man of his times. Like you can't do that. You can't judge because you're going to be judged. In 6 years from now, all these progressives are going to get judged. It's terrible.
Now,
I'm not a fan of it.
Now I see.
Well, Apex
stuff.
says HGWs eat cat food and burrow in the basement. Well, I'm in the basement right now, but I don't eat cat food. When they called me a basement dweller, I'm like, yeah, I don't. Have you seen my basement? I don't want to be anywhere else.
I've heard some horror stories about basement comics being flooded, whatever. What kind of measures do you take to make sure that doesn't happen to your collection?
I live in the highest point in Long Island, so there's no floods. When I moved into that house, I had an engineer come in because I wanted to put comics. So the engineer, we tested it. There's never been a drop of water in this basement. I put in moisture sensors. I have fire extinguishers. If there's any water that's going to get into the first off, they're bagged and boarded individually, and I tested. You could put this comic up to here in water, and they're not going to get damaged. But
right.
Let's hope. I don't want to put that to
but now I've heard a collector say, it stayed there in the water and they'll become mush even like that.
Yeah,
if they stay too long in the water.
Yeah,
so
well, I live.
It'll keep it out for a while, but
so the only chance of there ever being any I'm more afraid of a fire because, like I said, there's no. I'm at a high point of a hill. There's never been any floods.
Let me show you the first comic I ever read.
Oh wow.
Giant Size Werewolf Annual #2.
Were you a monster guy?
I was to begin with, and then I saw Avengers with George Perez. That won me over.
Yeah.
I didn't even know, John, at first that this is continued like a soap opera next month. I just happened to select. I wanted more bang for my buck. I liked a lot of characters. The more of the characters, the way I figured it, you could get a Hulk and a Spider-Man, and I did later. But at first, it's like, what can I get the most for my money? And George Perez drew me. And I went back a couple weeks later, and the next issue was there. And just by happenstance, I got the next issue. It didn't take me long. I got out to the truck and said,
I would just buy whatever comics caught my eye. And my friend Sean explained to me, he was like, no, you got to get them in order. Like here, like I'm just grabbing a comic just to make. He's like, you got to get them in order. You see this number over here? This is the number 8. So that means there's been 8 issues. Next issue will be enough. I was like, oh, okay. Because I didn't know. I just bought. That's a cool comic.
When you come into it, you don't know. You kind of take it on an issue by issue basis.
It was the cover that sold me.
Is that what you're trying to do in your comic? I know that's what I'm trying to do in my comic. Is that enthusiasm, the things that comics kind of showed you and revealed to you, that childhood wonder, that wow factor. That's what you want to put in your comic stories, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's exciting stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like I said, when you're reading my comic, I also have like ads. We got like a, how Marvel and DC had ads. So I'm putting ads in my comic too. Ads to nothing. It's not like I'm charging you $10 and then whatever. But you know what I'm talking about. I'm putting in Bronze Age era ads into the comics just to increase the authentic feel of the comic.
I got excited about stuff like this where they would just allude to Thor in a movie. Yeah. Actually, this wasn't a bad movie, but I
remember a friend of mine said, you got to see this movie. The girl is hot, and then the little girl dresses like Thor. Yeah, I was like, I used to love watching any TV show, and they would have a comic book. Like, are you familiar with the show Corner Gas at all? It's a Canadian show.
No, I don't think I've heard of that.
It's a nice, wholesome show, but the guy's always reading a comic book. And now that we have it on stream, we could freeze frame it. My wife's like, so I want to know what comic book he's reading. So I've been doing that for years. I remember in one episode of The Ropers, it was a spin-off
Uh-huh.
from my all whatever the show that my Three's Company. They had a show,
Right.
and there was a little kid. He was reading a Marvel Premiere 29 with the first appearance of Scott Lang as the Ant-Man, or 49 rather. I was like, I have that comic. You know, I was a little kid. I have that comic. You know, it's like when you're watching a movie and they mention your birthday. That's my birthday. You know, we all do that.
Let's see. The Intruder. That's what it was called. The racist movie. And there's a shot right there of a very young pre-Star Trek William Shatner.
Yep, The Intruder. A fun fact about this movie is it bombed, so they brought it back 2 years later, and they changed the title to "I Hate Your Guts," and they brought it back in the theater, and it made more money. It still didn't do that great, but it made more money because people are like, "I hate your guts." This is
because he was kind of like into the exploitation movies, wasn't he? The drive-in movies. You remember drive-in movies? Did you ever go to one, John?
It was Star Wars. It was a double feature of Star Wars and War of the Worlds. Yeah,
I remember seeing my very first drive-in movie was Conan. I was 17. You had to be 18 to get in because it was a rated
but
R
you
movie.
could live in the neighborhood and see those gigantic boobs from over the fence.
I lied about my age to get in. I was in a 67 Cutlass, my very first car. It was actually my aunt's, the little old lady from Pasadena that never put any miles on the car. It had 42,000 miles on the car when I got it.
I love drive-ins.
Classic. Oh, they were a lot of fun. Yeah, they were a lot of fun. And you get a double feature. I remember one that I watched was John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh, great.
With that. Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of fun times. And now they have IMAX theaters.
Yeah.
Is about the closest thing to that,
Omar Glitch says, "Is it an ad for my wife's jewelry and fashion store?" No. It's
probably like a Hostess cupcake or pudding. Something like that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Pete Sametti kind of does that in the alternative books and stuff, and I've seen some others do that.
I'm not going to tell you what the ads are, but I'm going to tell you Brian Bao does one, Fabrizio Aiello does a second.
Oh yeah, Wolf and
does a third.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
He's been killing it over there. Now, why fund my comic? I know what you've said before. And I don't know if you were asked that, but I mean, I know.
Why? Because he's one of us. Luke Stone is a comic book guy. He loves comics. I don't know his personal story, but he's tired of all the politics in what's his name? Your boy Zach, Richard Seameyer, he got banned from Kickstarter. He got booted off Kickstarter. And then other people went to Indiegogo and they're shadow banned. I know RJ from the Fourth Age, his comic was shadow banned. Who's he bothering? So he said, I'm going to start a platform. He takes like the least amount of money and there's no shadow ban. You go there, you could find it. And the day I launched, I updated it, and every time you update it, you have to get pre-approved again, which is smart. I wasn't thinking that because it was the day I launched. So I updated something. Now it has to get re-approved. And I got a few hours before the launch. So I'm freaking out. I'm not rational at this point.
I know it's stressful, isn't it?
So Luke gave me his phone number. So I call Luke and I can hear the dishes clinking. He's eating with his family. He takes my call and I'm freaking panicking. Oh yeah, and he's like, "Oh okay. So how's it going, man? You ready?" And so I'm like, "Yeah, you're gonna fix it." He goes, "It's fixed already." And I was like, "Why would we go anywhere else?" I don't know the guys at Indiegogo. I don't know the guys at Kickstarter. But I called the guy from Fund My Comic and he fixed my problem while we were talking. That why go anywhere else?
Yeah. Well, you get a lot of arguments on that or a lot of counterpoints on that. It's like, well, it's not as large a platform as Kickstarter is well known and it won't be if we don't get behind it and support it. Right.
I got to make money. I got to be realistic. I got to pay for the comic, so when this is done, I am going to Kickstarter and I do have another variant cover that's only Kickstarter. This Pat Broderick cover is only on Fund My Comic. On Kickstarter, there's going to be a Michael T. Gilbert cover that's only on Kickstarter. And then
Okay,
when that's
Michael
done,
T.
I'm going to go to
Gilbert.
does
That's
Mr.
done.
Monster.
Mr. Monster for one.
Yeah, he does a humorous cover. I love it. And then on
Mhm.
Indiegogo, I have a Mike Gustovich cover. So altogether, there's going to be 4 covers. I wanted something unique to each platform because I do know that there's people that don't like Fund My Comic, and
Right.
you know what? I got to get their money too. I got to be realistic.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that Kickstarter is going to allow me. Who knows? They might boot me. And if that case, I guess there's 2 exclusive covers on Fund My Comic.
Now, are you always going to start out on Fund My Comic?
Yes,
Before you
yes.
do the others?
Luke is a good guy.
Yeah.
I believe he's one of us. Meaning he's a comic book guy.
Right.
So my goal, what I want to do is this is going to be like 3 months on Fund My Comic. Then I'm going to do Kickstarter. Then I'm going to do Indiegogo. By the time I'm on Indiegogo, I should be fulfilling the Fund My Comic people. And then when Indiegogo closes down, I want to go back to Fund My Comic with issue 2. I'm sending Renzo the script for issue 2 tomorrow. So we're already starting issue 2.
How did this come about, John?
How did what make it a comic?
Yeah, I mean, you've been a comic book collector and a big reader, and then was it kind of the Comicsgate type thing? What's been going on with the crowdfunding, and you thought, okay,
DC. I quit Marvel and DC in 2015, and I still got like Usagi Yojimbo and a couple of Image comics that I still like, but Marvel and DC,
right?
I didn't know about Comicsgate, and then like I said, I don't know why I was on YouTube, and YouTube for whatever reason recommended Diversity in Comics to me. So I think he made 3 videos by the time I found out about him. So I started listening to that. I have a long commute, so I'm listening to him, on my commute, and I'm like, finally, somebody agrees with me. It's not just me. And then I started emailing Richard Meyer because I was the electrician at Marvel,
Right.
so I was giving him insight. So I just happened to catch this, and I was just so
So
happy.
you're deep throat. You were kind
I
of
was
feeding
one of his
information
insiders.
to your boy Zach.
Yeah, I was one of his insiders. So if you listen to Richard T. Meyer about when he talks about this electrician at Marvel, that was me. So, and this was before there was Comicsgate, and then John Malin started working for you, boy Zach, and then Ethan Vitzke. So somebody accused me of being a tourist. I was like, excuse me. First off, I got more comics than the next 100 people put together, and second off, I was Comicsgate before there was a Comicsgate.
Well,
before
I'm keeping up with you. I've got over 30,000 myself, my friend.
Yeah.
So you better watch out.
Oh my God says, why the T upside down in the title? It's not upside down. It's, if you look at it, it's a building going up. He's a foundational hero, and the patriarch symbol is buildings. Scroll up.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
You see that?
It almost looks like a missile.
It's a building. It's a building.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense, especially with you being in construction.
Yeah, and he's the guardian of Science City. So it's. I read somewhere, I think it was Elon Musk said that if you built like a 10 by 10 square mile a row of solar panels out by Yuma, Arizona, you could harvest enough solar power to power the country. Now, I don't know if that's true.
Who designed your logo for you?
Nick X.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I thought it was fascinating. So this is Science City, Arizona. It's outside of Yuma. It's out by the desert. It was designed by Ian Strange. He's this architect who's also a wizard. He designed the perfect city using the power of science, the power of magic. And then Philip Manning, the Lex Luthor, the industrialist, changed his plans unbeknownst to him, and now it causes problems. So that's why people all of a sudden wake up and they're gangsters. Guy was a construction worker. Now he wakes up, he's a gangster. Because I was thinking, why does Gotham City have so many maniacs? There's got to be something wrong with the city itself. Miami's just as big as Gotham, but people aren't dressing up like penguins and robbing banks in Miami. There's something about Gotham City. So that's part of the story that you'll find out over
Yeah.
reading more issues.
Yeah, that's the great thing about comics is I'm reading them, I get inspirational ideals or ooh, what if this happened? I find myself saying, what if this happened? You
Right.
know, taking the story in a different direction. Um, Comics are kind of unique in that fact. Comics really made me a reader. John, did they make you a reader, or were
I, I,
you?
yeah, the story that I always tell is in third grade, I couldn't read, and I didn't want to read.
Mhm.
When you're in third grade, are you going to go home and just do math problems with your friends? And that's the way I looked at reading. Reading was a school activity. Math was a school activity. I didn't go home and do math problems. I wasn't going to go home and read. And my friends were into comic books, and I'd look at the pictures. The storytelling in those Marvels were great, so you kind of got the gist of what was going on.
Mhm.
And then I realized I wanted to know what was going on. So I sounded out the words. I pretended to be able to read even though I couldn't. And by the end of third grade, I went from the worst reading group to the top reading group because I found something that was worth reading. Those stupid books that they give you in third grade, that's not worth reading. Who gives a crap? Fun with Dick and Jane and all that stuff. Teddy Bear Goes to the Market or whatever. But comic books, they were a lot of work, but they were worth the work.
Yeah. And they probably increased your vocabulary, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Stan Lee famously said that he wanted to call the X-Men the Mutants. That was the original title for the X-Men. And Martin Goodman says that's a terrible title. Kids don't know what mutants mean. And he said they'll look it up. Kids are smart. But they stuck to the guns and they made it the X-Men. And I still think the Mutants would have been a greater title for the X-Men.
Well, it was the early 90s whenever VHSs were coming back that I actually saw some of the old classic cartoons from the 60s that I used to watch when I was like.
Nice freeze. I thought you froze.
No, I do the little freeze thing. I'm just saying I was waiting for the drool to drop down. Some kid like that's one or two in front of the TV discovering the world, the greater world out there in the middle of nowhere for the very first time, like.
Yeah.
And maybe with some cereal there, but you got Johnny Quest, you got Herculoids, you got Justice League, you got Fantastic Four, you got Spider-Man 67, Spider-Man, and looking back on it today, some of that stuff wasn't great at all, but in the 90s I rediscovered
but we had nothing to compare it. We had nothing to compare it to.
I really think it was the golden age, in my view, of the very start. Really, you had Superman, Fleischer cartoons.
Those are some of the best cartoons ever made.
Oh yeah, it's great. I mean, I would put it up there right with Johnny Quest.
As much as I love Johnny Quest, those Fleischers are still on another level. I'm not even joking.
They did the early rotoscoping with those things. I mean, it's great, dun, 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 dun,
and it's funny when you show those old Supermans to people who've never seen them, they're just like, this is the 40s? And they could still watch. But if you watch, I watched Johnny Quest again maybe last year. Mm-hmm. It's kind of dull. It's kind of slow, and I can't stand Scooby-Doo. The original maybe Scooby-Doo is good now, but the original Scooby-Doos were awful, but those Fleischers I could still watch over and over again.
Yeah. Well, all I can tell you was my impression as a kid. And then I go back and watch certain things and it's like, this is not as good as I remember it. Yeah. But I will say this, when I first saw some of that stuff, the openers that you would see again and again and again every week, right, are what I remember. Now, with some of the others that I watched again and again and were a little bit more invested in and paid more close attention to, and maybe I was a little bit older too, was like Fantastic Four. There was of course, The Thing became one of my favorite characters, just like you, John. You said that he would probably. Don't you think he's kind of synonymous with Jack Kirby? Sort of a different.
Oh yeah, he's modeled after his grandfather, Benjamin.
Yeah.
So
cigar smoking,
Yeah.
Is that is that a good image? Would I mean even today to put in the comics? I'd actually like to. I mean, people smoke every day.
Yeah. I mean, you can have. Is it a good image to have people punching other people in the face? Is it a
Well,
good?
there you go. I
You know
mean,
what I mean?
or through a wall.
Kids are
Or-
kids are
yeah,
smart. Like
yeah.
and even if you have Nick Fury smoking a cigarette, and then somebody says something to him, and Nick Fury goes, "I have the Infinity Serum. I'll do okay. Don't you smoke?" Like I have no problems with that. Or Wolverine going, "I can regenerate. I can, or Ben Grimm just like I've already made a rock. What else is it
Don't
going
you
to do?"
think if they, especially in movies, if they stayed to the original material,
Right. It drives me nuts. I
yeah,
want my comic book movies to be slavishly dedicated to the original. I don't want race
is that
talk.
not
I,
what
I don't
was
want.
Stan Lee just trying to get it on TV, get it in the movies, or was he
Yeah.
trying to tell an accurate story? I mean,
I
retell
think
some of those.
Stan Lee was a little bit of a shill. Let's be
Oh
realistic.
yeah, he definitely was. Yeah, but
When
he was a
Tobey
good
Maguire Spider-Man was coming out, he's like, "Why didn't I think of the organic web shooters?" He
right.
because
Yeah,
he was getting a paycheck out of it.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
He was definitely a salesman where,
Yeah,
a lot
he
of
was
the
the funky
artists,
flashman.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you have to be. But you can't underestimate his contribution,
Well,
getting
let me put it this
Spider-Man
way:
on.
if somebody offers me $5 million for the patriarch to be a transgender 1 foot lesbian frog, I don't know. I might take it.
Wow.
You know what I
Wow.
mean?
Okay.
Construct
Wow.
construction is rough, guys. Waking up at 4:30 in the morning, jumping in the pit and carrying pipes.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can sit there and all your wrongness with your knees hurting and
Yeah.
your joints
I'm so
and
glad I
and
stuck.
read your comics in peace.
I'm so glad I stuck to my guns as I go back to work until I'm 72 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh
Yeah.
what you're so would you characterize yourself as more conservative than most people in your state around you?
Well, let me put it this way. I'll when I lived in Queens during COVID, and
Mm-hmm.
I went outside, and my wife and I went for a walk, and somebody pulled up and yelled at us, "Put a mask on!"
See you,
I'm like,
Carrie.
I said, yeah, so I was like, I'm with my wife. You know what I mean? Like, we live
Yeah.
in a 1 bedroom apartment. Like, why do we need to wear a mask? And mind your own goddamn business. And then all the restaurants started closing. And then the bottom line, my friends, we would play role playing games. They were all in their 30s. I'm the old man in the group. They didn't come out. And then they said, "Oh, we'll have board games again and role playing games when a vaccine comes out." And at this point, I was like, that could be years. It takes 10 years to make a vaccine.
Yeah.
So we're done, whatever. And then they came out with the shot. I'm like, I'm not getting this freaking shot. They just invented it. I don't know what the side effects are. It takes 10 years. So they all yelled at me. We exchanged some words. I was like, why am I
You're
wearing a mask?
risking my life by not wearing a mask.
Right. I said, does your mask work? Does your mask work? Does your mask work? Then why do you care about me? I'm perfectly fine. And then whatever. So it's funny because the final straw was my favorite Chinese restaurant closed. So I called them up and I'm like, I think they're closed. I actually said, my wife and I got in the car. We drove there. It was closed. They had wires from the ceiling. It was like evacuated closed. So I was like, oh my God, why are we here? Why are we here? So we went looking for a house. This house that I live in now, I was paying $600 a month storage so I was paying my Queens rent.
Wow.
Plus $600 a month storage. And if here it's almost exactly just the rent. So I'm saving $600 a month living in a house. I got my own parking spot.
That's a lot of comics.
And this is the story that I tell. So you can't cook the day you move. You know what I mean? There's boxes all over the place.
Right.
So I'm like, honey, let's go to a diner. Let's get something to eat. We got to eat. So we go to the diner and we pull in. This is the height of COVID. Okay. So Queens is tumbleweeds in the streets. Nobody's coming outside. It's people. And if you do go outside, somebody's yelling from the window, "Put a mask on." So now where I am out in Long Island, we pull up to the diner. It's packed. The just Pete Diner. Once in a while, you'll see somebody with a mask on. Nobody's got mask on. There's American flags hanging out, and every TV had Trump on the and I was like, honey, we're home. Like I got teary eyed. Like people are normal here. And I was working on the George Washington Bridge. It was just me and two other guys. The bridge was empty. It was really weird. We would drive right to the bridge. We were able to. So we never wore masks. I didn't really see what my friends were seeing because to me, my friends just abandoned me. Work was exactly the same. It was me, two other guys, my foreman, and we all kind of agreed.
Would you say you lost friendships over?
Yeah. They don't talk to me. I'm a bad guy. I'm a alt-right Nazi, because like you're not wearing a mask.
What changed with you?
Has asthma. I'm like, well,
what changed with you that they would forsake you like that? What changed besides the move? What changed?
I refused to get the vaccine. I refused to wear a mask. And then during the Black Lives Matter riots going on, I was just like, how is this going to help Minneapolis? And they were like, what? I said, we were in a group chat. I'm like, how is this going to help Minneapolis? Like, well, George Floyd. I said, it looks horrific. The cops stayed on.
You sound like a free thinker to me.
But I said, but let me put it this way: are you going to open up a store in Minneapolis now? And they're like, and he goes, well, they don't have representation. I go, well, who's they? The people of Minneapolis. I said, explain to me. And Black people. I said, okay. So this was all in a group chat. So I said, here's the mayor, here's the police chief, here's the state senator, here's their, it's all Black people. So don't tell me they don't have any representation. This is who they elected. This is who ran the police. I said, I said, Black Lives Matter is a horrible organization. So they called me a racist. I said, if you can't understand the difference between Black people and Black Lives Matter, destroy. I said, how much you want to make about these people rioting in Minneapolis? I bet you 75% of them don't even live in Minneapolis. They're just people who show up to riots.
Well, John, isn't that what's destroying things? They relaunched Milestone a few years ago, and I was actually considering getting the 5 books that initially, the 5 #1 books, and I opened up one of them. I was considering purchasing them at my local comic book store, and I opened it up, and guess what's inside? Exactly what's on the news, which was in the news then. Black Lives Matter rioters. I closed it up and put all 5 books, $12.50.
Yeah, I don't want tax. Yeah,
I don't want to read about that 20 years from now.
Right.
And it's bore out that all that money went to these avowed communists, and now they're looking into it.
If you went to if you went to the Black Lives Matter website, one of the things that they said was to abolish the nuclear family. And in a way, the patriarch, my character, is a response to all of this hatred of the nuclear family and fathers and stuff. So you know what? It's funny because I sent that group, because that group chat still exists. Here's my new comic. Let's see if they buy it.
Now Marcus comes in there a lot in your chat. I know
Marcus Telugu, he's one of my moderators.
Yeah. And how did you meet Marcus?
He just started showing up in my chat, and then we just started talking, and then he asked to be a moderator, and I was like, "What's a moderator?" That's how,
you're right. I'll run you through it.
And I said, "Yeah, okay, you're a moderator." I didn't know how to do it because I didn't realize you had to go into YouTube and do it. So I'm trying to do it from StreamYard.
Right. You got to learn all these things. It doesn't come.
I didn't know about StreamYard. I was doing it on my phone. I was, and people were like, okay, share my screen. I'm like, what are you talking about? How do you share?
What was your first comic?
Fantastic Four 187.
What was it?
Fantastic Four 187.
Well, that's a pretty good one. What run or book made the most impact on you think up to this point?
That's probably a tie between Chris Claremont, John Byrne, Terry Austin X-Men, or the John Byrne Fantastic Four.
You were looking at that the other day. I know, the Death of Phoenix.
On my Sunday show at 10 a.m. I do Sunday comics.
That's half the tie. What's the other half?
the John Byrne Fantastic Four.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the gig that he really wanted to get. He did it for 5 years, and um, his very first comic was Fantastic Four #5. I think that the first appearance of Doctor Doom, and I would say probably the best inked issue of those early issues. A close second for me is #13, where Steve Ditko inks Jack Kirby, and that's the only time he inks Jack Kirby except for the cover to 14. I love first appearance of Red Ghost and the Super Apes and the Watcher on the blue area of the moon. It's just a great story. It's in fact, if I did a Fantastic Four story, that's where I would start it and begin it. Where like Reed Richards touches one of the Watcher's devices, and it tells their origin and flashback and everything and how they got there.
This device?
Oh, the nullifier. Don't do it, John.
This piece broke off. I got to glue it in. I bought a resin printer. And I was like, I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it this way. I was like, I gotta get an ultimate nullifier.
An ultimate nullifier. Yeah. I don't know what I called it, but yeah. The only thing that stopped Galactus from having dinner.
Yeah, I always hated the ultimate nullifier. It was such a Deus Ex Machina ending. They made Galactus so powerful, they literally made a DC weakness.
I know this. I can probably answer this myself because you did mention Fantastic Four #1. Do you have the full run of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby?
Yeah, I'm missing issue #2.
Okay, the first appearance of the Scroll.
Yeah, I'm missing that. I had it in my hand. It was $300, and I just couldn't pull the trigger. I needed the money at the time.
Yeah.
So guys, fund my comic. A stretch goal will be I'll be able to get Fantastic Four #2. How's that?
There you go. Yeah, let's make that. You should definitely make that as a stretch goal because you're like one of those. It's like it's incomplete. It's incomplete till it is complete.
And if we hit 75,000, I promise I'll buy a Amazing Fantasy 15. How's that?
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
I joke around, but I'm not kidding. If we're dreamers, we're comic book people. We like to dream.
Yeah.
If I hit $100,000, I'm flying Brian Bow and all of these people, Renee from Fiendish, and we're gonna make up our characters and play a role playing game and film it live. How cool! I'll get Renzo. Renzo will be the patriarch. I'll be the dungeon master. And everybody will play their comic book character in a game. So $100,000, make it happen.
Now yours is an all-color comic, but you got to have some black and white comics in your collection, right? I mean,
of course. I got one from Betsy. I got
Explosion in the 80s.
Yeah, I just bought a copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, not the first printing, the fifth printing. Those kitchen sink spirits. I like black and white comics. Love and Rocket.
Do comics have to be color to sell?
They don't have to be. But the color ones sell better.
Yeah.
Saving the World right now by Tonic Ball is a black and white comic.
You think so?
I don't have a problem, but I'm a weirdo. But I understand the average person wants color comics.
Yeah. And why is that, John?
People like color. Color's dynamic. Color's cool.
It is. Yeah. If done right, I think a lot of the modern coloring's just too dark. It doesn't pop like it did in the Bronze Age in the 80s and stuff. And once digital coloring came in, some of these guys need to learn color theory. Really. Yeah. Do you have any? What is your writing background, John?
I'm an electrician.
Yeah. And you just you know a lot of people because you've been in New York.
Writing,
it's life experience, right?
I have a college degree in Greek and Roman history. I have a minor in education and a focus in religions. And I took many writing classes. I wrote a couple of short stories. For one of my classes, I had to write a Greek play. So I wrote a lot. I've always been writing. I've been writing role-playing stories for my friends. So, this is my first published, professional, whatever you want to call it, writing gig. And I'm fully aware I'm the weak link here. You know, Renzo's art is impeccable.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, what I was saying about John Byrne, and we kind of got off of it, was that he's truly a fan from childhood.
Yes.
And I think the creators that have the passion, the drive, and I think that's why this indie scene, all the momentum is in.
Huh? I said that's why we're making some good comics, because we're putting our own money in it. You know, we're putting our money where our mouth is. I'm not working for Marvel, playing with other people's toys, and I'm not really invested in it. And it doesn't sell. All right, so just move me over to this title. I'll write this title from now on. You know.
Well, I think you're knocking it out of the park, my friend. I mean, you know, for your first comic, I mean, you've really got a lot of support here. You know.
Oh yeah. I got to say, like other creators have been helping me out. Some big names are supporting me. I'm going to be on Mandy Summers' channel on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be on Renee Draws. Yeah, I'm going to be on her channel. I think the 22nd. Mm-hmm. You know, Michael Bancroft, hosted by Launch Party. You know, Joe Sontag's been mentioning me. Yeah, all the guys. I can't. I even saw Shane Davis was talking. He was like, yeah, John's Longbox is a good guy who likes comics. You know, Cecil just had me on last week, so I can't complain. You know, you're hosting me. You've been on my channel.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. In fact, I'd like to come back because I actually came on before it launched. Now we're launched.
Is your comic still active?
It's still active. Yeah, it's in demand, but
so come on back. But I'm going to have to stop now because my wife is coming down the stairs with dinner.
Well, thank her for us. And I'm sorry about the internet problem at the beginning. Had no control over that.
Shadowhawk was fun. And then we were just addressing the chat. So.
All right.
Oh, Shadowhawk's back in the chat.
Thank you, John. Great. Appreciate that. And let's set that up. I'd like to come on and talk comics with you. And
my memory is Swiss cheese these days, so just send me a direct message on Twitter, and that's the best way for me to remember things.
Okay. Ray,
if I lose this thing, I'm lost. I'm going to be wandering around like Joe Biden.
Well, take care, John.
Ray, how you doing, Ray?
And how we end the show is keep collecting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Keep collecting.